Mirasy Heritage Management, which is a research and archiving firm. We specialize in legacy building, archiving, curation of exhibitions, or research books. We also do archival research for production houses. This is our team, as you can see. Captain Kapil Devbal and Mr. Subhash Rao Malia are our mentors. Pankaj is our digital strategist. Pooja Ashokkumar, who's the speaker for today, is our senior researcher. Shalaka Patil is our fine artist and art conservator. Saga Munde is an archaeologist from the team, and Pranav is our archives consultant. So, to introduce Mirasy to you, the word Miras in Turkmen means inheritance or heritage. In India, there was a community called Mirasy, who were the keepers of heritage. They used to chronicle things, and that is exactly what we would like to do. We would like to be the keepers of heritage. So here we are today, bringing Mirasy to you. And we have the team spread all across India. So the theme for today's UNESCO's World Heritage Day is complex pasts and diverse futures. We are all made up of history, whether it's you, me, the cultural heritage, the tangible, intangible sources that we all talk about. So without examining, believing, and understanding them, we cannot conserve it. We cannot embrace this heritage that we are made up of. This heritage, which is our identity, it is our responsibility to conserve it and make it relevant for posterity. So we are here today to celebrate World Heritage Day with an aim to take a step closer in understanding many legacies that are overlooked. Because we all know heritage once lost can never be recovered. So hence Mirasy is here today, giving every scholar a platform to present their findings, to spend sleepless nights definitely, and who are driven by efforts to make a shift in and give heritage its estimable recognition. Here we have no language barrier, no age barrier, no academic barrier. We need you. If you love stories and travel, we are here for you. Today we have two brilliant speakers on board. Miss Pooja Ashokkumar, who is a senior researcher at Mirasy Heritage Management. She is a postgraduate in history from University of Mumbai and is an independent researcher, a heritage enthusiast, a writer, and podcaster. Pooja is also a research assistant to Dr. Usha Vijayalakshmi, head of history department at Patkar Varde College. She has assisted in collecting primary sources for temples in Mumbai as a major research project under Dr. Usha Vijayalakshmi and for the Asiatic Society. She has presented a research paper on Jogeshwari caves in an international conference. Her MA dissertation highlights the lesser-known Chitrakathi paintings and Thakar art form and preservation of the art form by Padma Shri Parshuram Gangavne and his family. As a content writer, she has worked for Canadian companies and Indian brands. Her interest lies in art, architecture, heritage, oral tradition, mythology, iconography, and spirituality. Pooja, I thank you for taking this opportunity and giving a presentation today. The second speaker for the day is Anay Pandit, who is a product development engineer at Applied Medical and is Mirasy's project manager too. So he has a Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering from UC San Diego. His research area lies in product development, and he's involved in new product development for the past 4 years at Applied Medical. and 2 years prior to that with UC San Diego. He has 4 patents to his name. Currently, his role in the company is a technical lead and managing and leading couple of engineering projects. I welcome you, Anay, and thank you all for being a part of this and celebrating the World Heritage Day with us. Happy World Heritage Day, and I now request Miss Pooja to address the audience. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for a generous introduction, Neha, and greetings on World Heritage Day today for to everybody. Uh, just a moment, I'll just present the slides here. Before that, I would really like to thank Neha for giving us this platform as well. So, thanking Mirasy Heritage Management for this event. Also, thank you, Usha ma'am, for joining today. Thanks a lot, means a lot, and all the uh, all of you guys. Thank you. Is the slide visible?
Yes, it's visible.
All right.
The show has begun. The slideshow has begun.
Thank you. All right. So, as you all know, today I'm going to talk about oral history and heritage. Uh, your great grandmother's recipe is as important as the Taj Mahal. So, this is something I really thought of because when we talk about heritage, when we uh, talk about UNESCO World Heritage or something, it's always the word heritage is always that makes you feel like or it reminds you of something that's already famous. But what about your great grandmother's recipe, or what about the letter left behind by your grandfather? It is equally important, and it is also a heritage. It's your inheritance, and it is if you see that importance in it, you will definitely know it is a heritage. So, continuing with oral history, memories and stories of people. The quote I came across the other day that Neha shared is by Michael Margolis. Storytelling is about connecting to other people and helping to see what you see. This is what is important. Okay, when you understand, when you know the importance of the particular object or an idea, that is when it becomes a heritage, or that is when it becomes something like you know that holds that importance, or that is when it connects people, or it goes reaches out to people. For ages, we have been telling stories through different ways and different forms, be it through the cave paintings at Bimbeta or Lascaux, or the Nazca lines at Peru, or even like there are so many evidences that may not have a physical form, but then they exist today. Storytelling hasn't stopped yet. History itself is storytelling, and these evidence from several different places and several thousand years give us subjects to explore and ponder upon. Oral History Association defines oral history as a field of study and a method of gathering, preserving, and interpreting the voices and memories of people, communities, and participants in past events. Oral history is storytelling in simple words. It is that which may or may not have a definite form or shape, but may have far more significance. The narratives of the oral tradition remain the most common and immediately accessible forms of the past. This is a quote by Isabel Clark. So, when we talk about constructing history or reconstruction of history, it is important that we take into consideration narratives of people. The very people make history, right? maybe not all these people have been as good as Napoleon Bonaparte, or they have not been as good as Rajaraja Chola or any other significant ruler like Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj in the past. But they have stories. Maybe they have equally important stories, heroic stories that are still to be explored and documented. There are stories that have been undocumented since ages, and with that, aspects of events, actions, and voices of certain factions and perspectives of people are lost too. Maybe not lost forever, but till the time researchers or enthusiasts like us go and unearth them and start researching on them and display it or present it in front of people. So one of the examples I would like to share here or give here is the Thakar tribe from the Sindhudurg district, who were actually spies during the reign of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. You won't really find documents today on these people, or this community is actually a tribe community. So there are not too many documents over them, and we understand why, because if they have worked as spies or something, they would have to hide their identity. So maybe that went undocumented. Besides that, they were also artists and puppeteers. So scroll paintings, chitrakati. Scroll paintings are important and they are like famous in India, but then not too many people know about Pinguri chitrakati, or chitrakati from the Sindhudurg district, and they make it. They make it pretty well. I'll show some pictures here. These are the art forms. And it is this family, Gangavne family, that I researched on. This was my MA dissertation topic. And when I went there and I saw them taking efforts, and even though we don't, like scholars haven't written much about it, or researchers like us couldn't really find any documents on it or a concrete evidence on it, they have preserved their art form, and they say that it is 500-year-old art form, and they made efforts to preserve it in their own way, maybe without external help as well. Maybe they got it gradually, and they found their pothis. So paintings were found in their homes in form of pothis, like where you put something and tie it in a cloth. So that is how they found these paintings, and they researched about it on their own, and they left their full-time jobs. Although they are graduates, some of them are graduates, they researched on it and they took efforts to preserve their art form and bring it out in the world, so much that the recently Padma Shri Parshuram Gangavne, he was the one to initiate all of this, and his son Chetan Gangavne, they took so much effort that he received a Padma Shri award this year today. I mean, not today, but he received it this year. So it is this kind of awareness of the inheritance and efforts that make you put efforts and preserve it and bring it out in the world. So this is one example. Just a little more about them. So they said that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is their Dharma Pita. He was responsible for the betterment of the community, and he was responsible for getting them closer to the mainstream community. This was said by Chetan Gangavne, and Padma Shri Parshuram Gangavne also mentioned that there is a dialect that they had developed on their own. So that is, he called it Sanket Bhasha, which was a code language that these spies used to use. So upon researching using secondary sources, I came across K.S. Singh's work, People of India, 1971, which also mentioned that the community can be recognized by its traditional occupation and dialect chicory, which has no truth of its own, but it was a code language. So we see how maybe if just Parshuram Gangavne said this, maybe nobody would believe it, or maybe they would feel like, okay, maybe this is something. There's still no concrete evidence. But then when you see like K.S. Singh's work and it is published somewhere out there, so then it gains that credibility. So it is also important that if these kind of things come out and it becomes a topic for further research. Second, your inheritance is a heritage. So everybody, like everything we have, is going to be is going to get old someday, and is going to raise its value with that. So when we say when we say heritage, as I mentioned earlier, it is always some famous thing that comes into our mind, but maybe not a simple letter from our ancestor. So one may not believe in an abstract idea, but a concrete form of the same idea. That we need humans need the human brain needs something concrete to believe in an idea or believe in anything. Heritage is inheritance or legacy. It's in simple words, left behind your ancestor or our ancestors for that matter. In my words, I would like to define heritage as an idea transformed into physicality, survived through ages, passed on to and preserved by generations. So UNESCO has its own definition of heritage. It's both a product and a process which provides societies with a wealth of resources and that are inherited from the past, created in the present, and restored for the benefit of future generations. So, as I said, it could be anything. Maybe a UNESCO tag is very, very important. But before that, awareness is more important. Awareness and knowing that thing, understanding its value is more important. So, a letter or a photograph of your great grandfather or a family recipe, a piece of jewelry of your grandmother, or simple possessions can actually make extraordinary heritage if we get into it. So this is intangible cultural heritage when you see like this is an idea, but then it has a physical form. Um, it's just like it's a tradition. It's not like a physical form, as in like it's not a structure. You can't go and touch it or something, but then it is projected to you. It is presented to you. So these are some of the examples of intangible cultural heritage. And this is tangible cultural heritage, I would like to say, because these are objects here. So these pictures are the three are from, as I've mentioned here, except for the first one, are taken from Anchal Malhotra's documentation when she was working on her a book, Remnants of a Separation, which talks about material memory in partition. And the first one is my own family, like it's my own grandfather and grandmother's photograph, and that is a mattu. So mattu we use for it's a disc. We have it like at home. It was brought by my grandmother when they were grandfather and grandmother were moving to Mumbai from Tamil Nadu. So when they migrated here, she got it with herself, and it is still there. So I know its value. Like when I look at it, we still use it, and when I look at it, I'm taken back to her memories and to my childhood. So this is heritage for me. This object, very object, is heritage for me. So similarly, like the photographs used here or the jewelry here, as Anshul Malhotra has mentioned, and she has brilliantly opened a way or opened a space, wider space for more researches like this and more studies like this, where people can talk about just objects and memories related to it. So that is what is intriguing as well. So you need to be aware of what you have and know its value, know the stories behind it, and this is what oral history is all about. As I said, importance and awareness. So local level awareness is important, very very important. So when one of my experiences, like when I went to Jogeshwari caves and when I saw it right now, like when I visited it, in the current times, maybe it was very much different several years ago, but when I go there today, when I saw those sculptures or just the remnants that are there, they're in a very you know terrible form, or like they're in a terrible condition, maybe because there's no awareness. Like one of my neighbors said that they used to play garba on the top of the caves, or they would there's worshipping going on, so all the rituals is going on, so they would use milk and stuff that can probably affect the caves, and that has actually affected the caves. So it has had debris and so many things, and it has been in a very bad condition for many years. Now that ASI is taking efforts and clearing things out there, but then for years it has been this way. And if at all there was local awareness about the importance of the cave, maybe they know that if you go and ask them, they would say like these are built by Pandavas. But beyond that, they probably don't know, and it's not their fault either, maybe. But it's local awareness. If in case they were aware of more about the caves and its importance, they would have probably took efforts on their own to preserve it, or like to keep it clean, or just a simple act like that. So it's like once you know your identity, you understand it better and start resonating with it, you will strive to preserve anything that associates with your identity. For example, just our holy places or language or tradition. Even with the Jogeshwari caves, when I say they take care of the shrines that are there, they take care of the Shiva Linga, or they take care of the sculptures that are there. But then maybe the open spaces that they see, they're not fully aware of it. But then it's still they associate with it, so they keep working on in whatever ways they can. So awareness of one's identity and tangible or intangible associations can increase the importance of the same. And this is when you feel the urge to preserve these associating factors, and it keeps on increasing. So one of the examples I would say is Thakar Adivasi Kala Angan. So this is a museum actually. In the previous slide, you could have probably seen the museum. So if you see, these are the paintings from the 500-year-old painting, as they say. And Gangamne family, they created a museum. Actually, they turned a cowshed into a museum. That's what I said. Without probably external help or maybe funds, they started doing it on their own. So they felt this urge. They felt like, it is our own thing. It is our inheritance. So we need to preserve it and take it forward and put it in front of the world. So they started preserving it in whatever ways they could, and started this museum on their own. And then the second example is probably Anshul Malhotra's documentation again. So Museum of Material Memory, I guess. So these are the objects. Some of the, like, you see the shirt, you see the crockery, the just simple objects that people got to maybe the other side of the borders. So this is important. They have preserved it, and when they look at these objects, they go back to their time, and the memories they associate with it. And then again, third example is the Tamils in Dharavi, how they have revived this practice of celebrating Pongal. So usually it's just like, I have never seen anybody celebrating on the streets for, like, when I was really young, but it was a new tradition probably for that day Tamilians in Dharavi started suddenly. Usually in Tamil Nadu, if you see, it's outside in front of the temple that ladies and families, they would gather and they would celebrate Pongal this way, as shown in the picture. But then because Mumbai people are here and they want some association, something to relate with, so they started this practice here too, and this is how probably they will preserve. And this is also another, like, oral tradition. This is probably not something you can go and touch, but then just see and feel. Okay, so requisites for preserving old oral tradition. So here are some. Maybe I'm not the best person to give suggestions or like say that this is how it should be, but these are some suggestions from my side where I think we can probably do better when it comes to oral tradition or documenting it. So first we have documentation of narratives and tradition. So it is important to document them, to document them in whatever ways we can. So today, in the age of internet and so much of advancement, we can probably use so many things, and you may not even need a degree, but then you can just take a camera and start documenting everything, and then start possibly make it into a documentary and put it out in the different platforms. So it is difficult actually when we talk about research and when we talk about academia and a lot of things. The question of credibility is always there. Like when we talk about oral traditions, oral history, it's always speculated. Like we think about speculations a lot. Like what if this is not really true? But then I would say that history is full of speculations. We have all speculated. Probably there would be a geoglyph or the Nazca lines could be something else, and we have probably not yet understood what it is. Probably we have misinterpreted a lot of evidence too. And maybe there could be one thing that would change the whole course of history. That is also a possibility. So cross-checking, researching about that time, and then finding out for some associations, and all these things are important. Documenting is important. Preserving them, to preserve them first, you need to see the background, research on it, and start go step by step for it. And then second is availability of services for preservation. So government firms or organizations, they should be probably arranging and providing researchers and preservation techniques. We can even use technology like virtual reality, make documents, or making documentaries, or new projects, or so on and so forth. So this would probably give more opportunities for even students, or researchers, or people in general. So this is important. So when we talk about virtual reality, just one example about Anshul Malhotra again, because she is into oral history, and her work has been now being talked about a lot. So she was probably, her team, they went and they used this technology, virtual reality, with people from who had left their homes during migration, partition 1947, and they were shown, they were taken back to their place, and when they used that device, and then they were seeing, they were crying, because it is the memories that take them back, and they could literally see. Virtual reality is like you feel like you're there, you're present. So using such different devices or technology, we can do a lot more than we think probably. Um, and when we talk about that, actually the whole project, because I'm talking about Anshul Malhotra, because probably I have come across what she projected. So her grandmother was once, looking at the annas and paisas, that coin collection that she had, and Anshul Malhotra, she went and asked her what she was doing, and she said, I'm just checking these coins, uh, and then she started saying like, "वो भी क्या दिन थे." So when you say that, and then she started some story, and that is when it clicked. Like those were the days. So that is when it clicked until to maybe objects have this thing. It is material memory, and it is not just objects. So it is also just memory. When we talk about oral history, it is just memory. Something that your grandfather has said to you, you will have that, but maybe there is no concrete evidence, but that is significant to you. So you may have this opportunity to preserve it, and for turn it into a physical form, and then present it to people. Okay, another is evolving methodology. So, with changing times, there is also a need for change in methodology. There might be a lot of people who may disagree with this, or I don't know, but it's always, we have to keep coping up with time. So everything is changing so quick. It wasn't really, maybe a person without a degree can just go and do archaeological surveys and present videos and research on it, and maybe they would be good, doing it good as well. So for that, when we talk about research, we need a flexible methodology maybe, and we should be more considerate, I guess. So when I talk about, I would like to quote here Anshul Malhotra, like her, it is from the book Remnants of a Separation. My entry point into the memory of that time remains the material object. It is still my main object to arrive at the gateway of 1947 and the life before it, fabric and documents and soil and stories and touch and smell and health. So this is something, maybe not everybody would see this as important, or give it too much importance, so much that they would think of giving it a platform to be in front of people. But this is something, locals or people, their whatever they own, people make history. So it is important that we consider all these things, and give it a platform, a chance to prove its credibility or authenticity. Open-mindedness and flexibility. Again, as I said, like we need to be more considerate. Maybe if there are still possibilities that can that can not be measured by just devices or equipment or tested in laboratories. Maybe we can unearth an object and take it to a laboratory, and we can do some research on it and then test its dating and everything. But maybe not the same thing can be done to someone who has this memory. Maybe 2611 attack. So there are so many stories, so many heroic stories, and they are just stories, and they are not really documented. But once documented, they could turn out to be like great stories, and maybe down some years down, it could be one of the greatest stories as well. So there is a need for this as well. And lastly, I think I just took a few more minutes here. I would just like to end this talk by quoting something from the Universal One by Walter Russell. We must believe in dreamers. Without them, the realist would make scant progress, and man would be still primitive. The great genius of the ages has been the man of supervision. So we all know how when we talk about visionary, we see Steve Jobs, or we even consider Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, for that matter, being so visionary. So I think this is what we need. More platforms and more consideration for oral histories and narratives. And beyond that, the importance that we give, like personally, you can go and talk to your family, your grandmother and grandfather, sit with them and ask their stories. It could be a great story in the history too. So this is what is important, I feel. And I would just like to finish my talk here. Thank you so much for listening, for your patience. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Ms. Pooja, for this insightful session. And the question and answer session will be at the end of everything. I now request Mr. Anay Pandit, the second speaker of the day, to begin his presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Sorry, good evening for you. Good morning for me. I hope you can see me. That was a great presentation, Pooja, and thanks for handing it over to me, Ram. First of all, I would like to thank Neha for reaching out to me and telling and sharing the idea of what Mirasy is. And I was totally impressed by it. And when she put up that idea, I was like, yes, we want to do it, or I want to do it as well. So I really want to thank her for taking this initiative, and then also for giving such a generous introduction for me. When she was giving that introduction, I was like, no one else praises me that much, but thanks for praising me that much. And I will start the presentation soon. When I'm presenting, I'll be probably switching off my camera, and then we can go ahead with the presentation. But again, thank you so much for introducing me and giving me this opportunity to speak with you all. And I'll start presenting here. And give me a second. I hope you guys can see my presentation.
Yes, it's visible.
Perfect. And I'm going to turn off my camera so that you don't have to see my face. There you go. All right. So good morning again, everyone. I am Anay Pandit. I am a product development engineer at Applied, and I have a next slide for it. But at Mirasy, I am a project manager. I'll be probably using all my project management skills that I have learned over these years to help with Mirasy, and can do as much as I can using all my skills. But speaking of which, about the speaker, Neha told me to change the picture of myself, so I did, because I had long hair over here and didn't want to, show that. But I am a product development engineer at Applied Medical. Something informal that Neha didn't tell you is I am a math nerd. I am a travel freak. I like to travel a lot. I am a foodie. I cook a lot, and a huge Darth Vader fan for all those Star Wars people who are right over there. May the Force be with you. Coming to Mirasy, I am a history enthusiast. I'm a huge follower of Indian culture as well as German culture. I've been to Germany a couple of times, and it has always, amazed me with how the country is with respect to technology, with respect to history, with respect to all that they have preserved. And it's really astonishing with what they have done when a country like that was completely destroyed, not just like about 75 years ago after World War II, right? Speaking of which, that's the topic I have chosen to speak. Sorry, and moving to that topic, let's go to what I will be presenting in this presentation. So when Neha told me about World Heritage Day, the first thing that came to my head was Dresden. So this is a city in Eastern Germany. It is currently, after the reunification of Germany, is the cultural, educational, and the political center for the country. It has a huge influence when it comes to art and museum. Again, it has high amount of universities where scholars have gone, and a lot of research has taken place, and also is a very good stronghold for the political center in the country. Speaking of the location, Dresden, as I said, lies in the eastern skirts of Germany, very close to Czech Republic, and it lies on the banks of River Elbe, as well as it's about 165 kilometers away from the capital, Berlin. Speaking of the city, which I really like, is the greens and the forest that is spread. Even though it is such a highly populated city, they have made sure that they preserve their greens and forests, and 62% of the city area is greens and forest. So now that you all know what and where Dresden is, I'm going to go and start with how I came up with this topic and why I selected Dresden as such, and then we'll move forward with how it connects to heritage management, right? So speaking of the history of Dresden, it has a long history. It came into picture since 12th century, where the Sorbian settlement first noted this city, and they established this as their home. Once that happened, around at the end of the 12th century, King Augustus I was very fond of the city and was like, okay, I want to rule this city. So he made the capital of his kingdom, Dresden, as the capital of this kingdom. And during the kingdom of King Augustus I to King Augustus III, there were a lot of monumental structures that were built. Some of them were the Zwinger Royal Palace, the Japanese Palace, the Pilin's Castle, and the two landmark churches that I'm going to focus on in this presentation are also the Catholic Hofkirche and the Lutheran Frauenkirche. When the Augustus kingdom went down and it was ruled by Napoleon, he also loved the city's attraction, and as well he loved how it had everything to be the capital of the kingdom. So when he started the kingdom of Saxony, he also made Dresden as the capital of that kingdom. The pictures on the right show the 12th century picture of King Augustus' memory, and a painting of how Napoleon Bonaparte came from Italy to rule from Saxony, basically made the kingdom of Saxony and came to rule Dresden. To focus more on the history, would like to go to the first era of the war, that was the World War One. During World War One, again, due to its very closeness to the Allied forces and how it could relate with other countries, Dresden was the capital of German Empire in 1871. It was called the German Reich by then. The city had so much influence on the war because it was a major center of economy for Germany. As I say, major center of economy. Why was it? Because this is the city where motor car production started, where food processing industry started, where banking and other economical stuff were introduced during the war. And the major one was the manufacture of medical equipment. As I am a medical device engineer, that's what interests me more. But in that time, they started manufacturing medical equipments in this city, right? You can see from this how it became very important for Germany in World War One. When it came to the culture and economic center, it was, after the World War One, also was a culture and economic center for the Weimar Republic, or the German Republic. Since King Augustus III, it has been a center for the European modern art. So you would see how many museums are there that influence the European modern art are there in Dresden, and that's why it had its own culture itself, right? So once World War One ended, Dresden was developed and it became the center. And moving on from World War One to World War Two, where the biggest tragedy happened, and I'm coming to that tragedy. But the reason why the tragedy happened in Dresden was these, right? It was a major communication hub for the forces, for the Nazi forces. They were able to communicate with the Italian government and the other dictators through Dresden. It was a big manufacturing center with 127 factories. So basically, they were able to make arms, ammunitions, everything that is required for the war in Dresden. It was a very big defensive strong point for German forces, because that was a hindrance for the Russian forces to enter Germany. And because of the location of Dresden, it proved to be a very good defensive strong point for Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, right? And finally, during the war, Dresden also harbored approximately 600,000 of refugees, and 6 lakh refugees, just numbers here, with a total population of 1.2 million, right? So imagine, it had labor, it had high amount of people supporting the war, so it became a very important, or a very important place for Germany in the war. And that's what caught the eye of the Allied forces. When I say Allied forces, it is US, UK, France, and the others who fought against Germany. So because of these, it caught the eye of the Allied forces, and this is the tragedy that I was speaking with happened. I will go through the points over here, but just to get back why this happened, they wanted to punish the German forces for what they did in Auschwitz with the Jews. The amount of Jews went down in Dresden from about a few thousands to just about 4,200 Jews that were left in Dresden. So this was also a big city for, at that time it was called the eradication of Jews, and was a big city for the thinking of Adolf Hitler going ahead. So this bombing was done by the Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Force as a punishment for what Germans did. Interesting fact about it is this is never brought up because, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki takes so much dominance over what happened in World War II. But imagine this is a city which has around 1.2 millions of living citizens who are majorly women and children, were bombed by the Allied forces. The way they did it was by introducing two ways of bombs. One was incendiary bombs and the other one was the high explosive bombs. The high explosive bombs, what it did was it damaged the structure of the buildings and exposed the wooden structure, right? So when that was if they were bombed, that kind of bomb made sure that the wooden structure is exposed, and then the incendiaries were the ones that ignited it. So imagine in 3 days, this bombing happened from February 13 to February 15. Imagine within 3 days, the whole city went from riches to all the way down to what you can see in the image. This image is showing the whole Dresden in a view, and it shows how it was completely destroyed. It is a topic that still researchers are thinking should be considered as one of the horrendous acts of World War II. But as it was a stronghold for Germany, and this bombing was one of the reasons why Germany took a step back and Russia was able to enter Germany, it is not considered as a horrendous form of the World War II, but something to think about, that why can't we consider this as a horrendous form, right? Let's move on to the next slide, which basically shows the destruction. So imagine the whole city is bombed, and you can see the distraught of the Frauenkirche, which was the Catholic church that was there in Dresden, and that was targeted just to prove a point that Allied forces are stronger than the forces of Germany, as well as there is a view overlooking the Dresden castle, which you can see the whole city completely destroyed by the Allied forces. Again, history has happened. Everything that happened in the past has happened, cannot change it, right? And what made me select this topic is the next slide, right? So let's go to the next slide and let me show you how Dresden currently looks, right? So the government of Germany took this as a thing on the image, and once unification happened, when East Germany and West Germany came together to form as the country Germany, the first thing that they did was had a plan for restoring Dresden. It had such a big influence on art and museum. They made sure that they start with the Lutheran Church in 1994, and within 11 years it was constructed, and it looks as if it is, you go back to the history and it looks the same as they made. They used some photographs from the history, and I guess when Pooja said in her presentation, all these should be documented, I guess this kind of helps us to understand why it is important. So they took the photographs from pre-World War II era and saw how the city was, and they completed the reconstruction of Frauenkirche in 2005, which marked the first step of rebuilding the new market era, which is the market that is there, the market area in Dresden, right? The way the German government did was they divided the city in 8 quarters, and they separated projects based on the majority of the buildings that were destroyed during the World War, and tried to restore those buildings back to, back to the way they were as per the original structure, or at least be a copy of it, or like resemble what it was during the original structure. And that's what makes me really interested in this city. As of now, or the last time I studied about it in 2020, quarters 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8 were completed, and quarters 3 and 7 were under construction. So imagine in next 2 years, when you go back to Dresden and you see the city itself, it will, if you see the pictures of pre-World War II era, it will remind you what the city was back then, right? I think that was a big step in what we currently are doing, and I think that was the apt topic for me to select for a World Heritage Day, because this reminds me of how we connect to our history. Even though, yes, Germans did something wrong, rather Adolf Hitler did something wrong in his past, it does not change what the city was, and we should always, go back to the history and respect the structure that was there. And I guess this was one of the greatest examples of how Dresden went from what Dresden was after World War II, completely destroyed, to what Dresden is right now. And it is one of the most visited cities in Germany. They have more than 3 million people visiting every year. So it just shows how it can bring tourism to the country. This also makes me realize that we have certain sites in India that can use this as an example and restore the sites that we have, and save our heritage and have it something to show it to our future generations, right? Tell us what our culture is and what our roots are. And when you are out of your country in abroad, that's when what brings you closer to your roots. And I guess that's what made me select this topic as well. Let's go. The next couple of slides are just pictures, but these are very emotional pictures that I have from the website where I saw from the Washington Post, where they created a nice article saying how the city has restored, and it's a digital composite image, and that's where the technology comes into picture. I really liked the idea where Pooja showed about the virtual reality, and I was like, yes, being an engineer, technology always makes me fascinated about what is going on, and using technology in certain things like this, or like even the virtual image that Pooja said, it's really astonishing, and that's how we can use technology to make our future generations know about what we have had in the past and how the world has changed. A recent example, I think if you can go to the Google Earth, this is something new. I did not plan this at all. But if you go to the Google Earth, and you can see how the satellites from last 40 years have collected the data, and you can see the development of every single city for last 40 years. So that's something that, it's kind of heritage, management, like they have saved the heritage and seen how it has changed for last number of years that they have captured the data for. But this shows the ruins. On the left hand side shows the ruins of the city center that was destroyed, and they have restored it back. On the right hand side, it shows the theater in the Theaterplatz Square, which was completely destroyed, and you can see those two nurses over there taking the debris off, and now it has been restored to its glory, right? Again, a couple of pictures where it's again a digital composite picture of the palace that was Judenov Palace that was destroyed, and you can see a tram station in the black and white photo, which was taking out like all the debris, and now it has been completely restored with modern cars and ways of transportation. And the last picture is one of my favorites. It's the Zwinger Art Museum. They took effort in recreating as it was, and have restored all the art stuff that was there inside the museum. And it just shows that how much they care about their culture, how much they care about saving and managing their own heritage. And this is what influenced me to select this topic for my presentation. Last but not the least, I would like to end this presentation with the last slide. What do we learn from Dresden, right? And as I said from the previous slides as well, it has taught us how to, yes, some things bad have happened in the past, but just to move on and make sure that we preserve what is for us, and we can tell our future generations that yes, this happened and we were able to recreate it, restore it. Obviously, it's not going to be the original, but it's there, and we love our previous generations. We love our previous history that is there. Previous history is wrong grammar, but we love our history, and we want to preserve it, and we want to show the next generations that we had this, and we want to show it. So thank you so much for, again, Neha, for giving me this opportunity for presenting one of my favorite cities that I visited. And over to you, or Ram.
So, thank you, Anay, for this wonderful session. We begin with the question and answer session now. Kindly turn on your cameras and microphones to address the speaker. Thank you.
Hi, Nandan. I saw your question right now. I will definitely share some of the web links to show you what the Dresden to its glory are. And I will definitely put in my email ID as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for quick response.
Thank you.
I now request Ms. Neha to deliver the closing address.
Hi, good evening again. So thank you, Ms. Pooja and Anay, for sharing your take on history. Thank you, Dr. Nandan Shastri, Dr. Usha Vijayalakshmi, Ram Sharma, who is our social media and outreach intern. The participants here today joining us not only from major cities of Bombay, but major cities of India, but from major parts of the world, without whom this event wouldn't have been possible. Team Mirasy, thank you. Without you, we wouldn't be able to pull this off. So, as I said, we are all made up of history and heritage. That is why we are here today. Our beginning, our journeys, and even after our death, we all go back and embrace the earth, the water, and air, and become a part of a story. Let us begin today and become a part of this rich legacy that we are and that we have. We are here for you, helping preserve legacies, unearthing stories, and instilling pride. Join hands with Mirasy and be a part of an exciting journey. Thank you for bearing with us and hearing us out. May God bless you all. Stay safe, stay happy.